tonight. This is going to be a very fun night of talking about WWE, and you guys probably seen the graphic as far as the WWE Disconnect. Make sure you guys like this video, share this video, send this video to your friends, family, colleagues that are probably at a, like, man, there's just something about WWE now I just don't like connect with. Mind you, the obvious one in the room is just their political affiliation and everything like that. That's really gotten people turned off, and of course Brock Lesnar. But as I was, oh man, it was about 2 weeks ago. You guys probably seen a post that I put in my stories that all the results that you guys see me post and everything from every promotion, those photos are all in my editing program, my graphic design program. So I was planning on redoing a lot of my thumbnails for the City of Rasslin on YouTube. So I'm going through it and everything. And mind you, I'm going through years. So you're talking about going as far back as 2021. Actually, no, 2020. 2020? No, 2021. So I'm going through all these photos and organizing them and everything. And as I was organizing these photos, mind you, it's, screenshots from or pictures from like Raw, SmackDown, NXT, the actual show, but I also had the match graphics and that whole thing and the arenas and that whole thing. And I'm going through, I was like, oh man, I've really been doing this for a while. Looking at the crowd and just how everything's progressed in the last 5 years in pro wrestling. And as I was doing that, give me 1 second. I knew there was somebody I wanted to send this to. There we go. As I was, let me send this to a few people. There we go. Dude. So yeah, as I was going through the process of, checking out these photos and everything, something just, I never noticed, let me phrase that. I'm not going to say I'd never noticed that, but with all the dialogue that's been going around, I want to say, since, August of last year, surrounding just WWE, just the overpricing of fans, the show being just too many commercials, it's just it's like, man, it's just something's off. Like, it's not what it was, 2-3 years ago. And as I was going through the photos, I'm like, I came across one match graphic and I'm like, aha, that's it. And you guys know that I've talked about and touched on, color psychology and just that whole thing, and the composition of, foreground and background, of a dark background and a light background. And once I went through it, I'm like, oh. So I went through finding more match graphics of like Raw, SmackDown, NXT, the pay-per-views and everything. And as I'm looking, I'm like, okay, I get the obvious reasons why people are disconnected with it, with, like I said, the political affiliation, bringing back Brock, the Vince McMahon lawsuit. That's a given why people are disconnected. But then once you get people that, okay, because again, there's still people that are just on the fence. I don't know how. That's not my judgment call or anything like that. That's between them and that whole thing. But as I'm going through, the match graphics and photos and everything, I notice, I'm like, okay, this is the other reason why WWE is not connecting with people in 2026. Like, this is the reason why it's just off. So this live is going to be very informative. I got a lot of photos. I'm not going to say photos, but you could say somewhat of a presentation and stuff like that. Later on, I'll invite you guys on. If you have any questions, drop it in the comments section. I do want to let you guys know, if you got to head out from this live and take care of something like that, I'm going to download this live and upload it on City of Rasslin. So whatever you miss, you can rewatch it on City of Rasslin's YouTube channel. But yeah, this is going to be I think it was a while ago that I touched on it a little bit. But now with everything that's transpired with WWE since SummerSlam and everything, I think it's really obvious what's the disconnect and everything. So if you guys ready, I am going to turn this camera around, and this is going to be very fun. So this is the first thing. All right. So you see the dates, guys. All right. Let me back this up a little bit. All right. So you see the dates. You got 2022, 2024. And if you guys remember these match graphics, this is when Cody came back to WWE, WrestleMania 39. You know, this match graphic was also for WrestleMania 40. And I'll get into the WrestleMania match graphic. But look at Raw, look at NXT. And mind you, 2024, again, remember like NXT and SmackDown were the brands that that moved to different networks. So it was like half the year these match graphics were a part of WWE. So yeah, look, NXT, SmackDown, and one thing that I remember listening to, shout out to Ladybug. I know she's got a show going on and everything. Hopefully she can rewatch this later. I tuned into one of her lives and she was talking about how it just like there's not that energy from the company anymore as far as what they're doing. You know, just visually, it's just like it's comes across very flat, and you know, it's just you're just like, huh? Like what's going on here? So, if there's one thing that is probably going to catch your attention, and for those of you who are watching, the background is very bright. Now you got red, mostly red here. You got mostly, okay, this is a hint of dark orange, yellow, like an orange yellow right here, dark orange, and then you got gold. And then, of course, you got a light blue. You got a dark blue here, but you got pretty much a light blue, right? You got all this here. Let me read this. Is Richie here? Let's see, is Richie here? I think he is. Okay, is Richie's here? Give me a shout out. So now look at the transition from 2025 when NXT and SmackDown moved from CW to USA. Remember, NXT was on USA. This was on Fox. All right. Now this is weird because when they were on Fox, which is what's up, Richie? When they were on Fox, again, that's network television. CW is also part of network television. It's an interesting contrast that they would choose. Like if you look to your right, these are the current match graphics and show graphics. Everything is so damn dark. Like look at it, Raw. It's dominantly black with, you know, a hint of, you know, red. Look at NXT. Like, why are the wrestlers black and white? Like, really think about that. You go from this to this. And now, a lot of you guys who are watching, if you listen to a lot of people that, you know, the critique about NXT is like, man, it's like a very boring show. It's flat. Well, look at the match graphic. And I'll get into the arena and everything and just how it looks and stuff like that. But, you know, this is really obvious. And even SmackDown, look at John Cena and Cody Rhodes. Black and white. Like, why would you go black and white on a show that's on, honestly, it's on Friday night. So why would you not bring what you had here where Cody is, again, full color and everything. Everything's, it pops, everything. It's vibrant. You know, it's energetic. It gives off the, you could say vibe of intrigue, of interest. Like, hey, I really want to look into this. You know, man, I'm really fascinated by this. But like this over here, like it just gives off a very, very somber, like mood. Very, well, Naya says lazy. Well, most graphic design people will probably say that. But you see how the mood, and if you guys remember what I was talking about as far as color psychology, like anything that's like the background is practically dark. And if you look, like, even Roman Reigns, like, even though he's in color, and this is with a lot of the match graphics and show graphics for Raw, the wrestlers are darker. Like, it doesn't make any sense. But then they wonder why, and they being the higher ups in WWE, oh man, why is it, the ratings, this whole thing, and just, the criticism is very negative. Well, look at the presentation you're giving to the audience. You have to ask, who are they using for corporate psych and marketing? Exactly. Like this, like one of the criticisms I had on the left side, and you guys probably heard me, it was too bright. And one thing I said, if you guys remember who were watching, I said, I hope they don't go to the other extreme, because WWE, as a corporation, as a brand, they don't know anything about moderation. We see that in their storylines, we see that in their music, we see that in their videos, we see that in, their stadiums, just how they present things. They, like, the last 10, 15 years, they've been void of, like, freaking moderation. And I'm like, man, I hope they don't go the opposite and go too dark. Well, they did. So yeah, this is the first thing that caught my eye as I was going through my photos and my editing program. And right away, I'm like, okay, now I get it, And it's crazy because looking at this match graphic for NXT, you got Zarya, who, if you visually, if you've seen her, like, she's a superstar. Outside of just how they're handling, like, they should be doing more with her, but just as a wrestler and just presentation wise, she stands out. JC Jane is another one. They stand out. Like, why would you minimize, their, what makes them marketable and presentable? Like, why would you just black and white? Like, it's literally, if you look at both columns, it's almost like going from the Wizard of Oz in reverse. Like, instead of going from black and white to color, they're going from color to black and white. Like, it's really, the CW presentation gives you the idea of movie cinema. Yeah, it gives, like, this, and the other thing is, with these match graphics, everything is in prime time. So it's like, people need something, like, if you're coming home from work, and granted, nowadays, the way the world is and everything, and of course, 2-3 years ago, it's different, but, like, if you're coming home from work, and you want to watch something entertaining, which side are you going to watch? You're going to watch this side or this side? And just how visually it is, it's, it's just like, man, this is really, like, I'm going to flip the camera back around. So yeah, that's, one thing that caught my eye was the match graphics. And, I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, I'm like, and you guys, like I said, I did a live touching on the color psychology and everything of WWE and just what they're using and everything. And, right away, the color psychology part of me, I'm like, oop, man. And I know, I think somebody asked it in the chat. I know some people ask, like, man, but, they're a big corporation. They should know this. In the history of billionaire corporations and in the history of professional wrestling, primarily, when people are money centric, profit centric, and I'll get into that later, it happened with WCW. They, for some reason, their attention to detail, they suffocated. And this is a lot of, here, let me flip this around. SwiftK, what's up, man? This is a lot of attention to detail. Now, don't get me wrong, I like these these graphics are really nice. But, like, for me, it's like, this should be colorized. If you look in the back of, let me zoom in a little bit. Here, let me zoom in. There's like a splash of, like, white paint. If they were smart, which, well, that's a whole other thing. If what they should do is invert the colors. So the dominant color should be white, the wrestlers should be in color, and like these stripes should be in black, where everything centers around them. Because they blend. The thing is with colors like this, and if you look at this, like you can't really like you see her makeup, but like you don't really see her because they blend and they fade into this. Even the indie companies do better match graphics. Man, you know what? I honestly think I'll get into the WrestleMania match graphics. I looked at a few of them. A few of the WWE WrestleMania match graphics, they look AI. They don't look like they had a graphic. I mean, they probably have someone in charge of graphic design that uses AI, but they don't look. There's just a I should say sophistication, but there's a saturation and a texture to the wrestlers and the actual elements that they use within the graphic that is just like, nah, that's too. It looks too much like an action figure, like an action figure set. It's like it looks really weird, but yeah, I don't know why they did that, but you know, when you do that contrast and think about, like, if you really think about it, guys, look at the correlation from when they changed these show graphics to how the perception of the show like started getting lower and lower. Like I shouldn't say perception, but like the anticipation, the intrigue, it just started dropping. Then add on like the creative aspect. I mean, that's a that's a lot. That is a man. Let me see. There is no authenticity anymore. Yeah, it's really, really. This is really underachieving for what they've done and where they are. Like, this is really underachieving. But yeah, thank you guys for still tuning in. Make sure you guys share this video with those who watch WB and aren't satisfied with it. Share this with them and tell them to drop in. This is going to be a fun time. So, moving on. So right now, I'm going to go into the Raw, SmackDown, or Raw, NXT, and SmackDown. And what I'm going to go into is the crowd, the stage, and the ring. And there's another thing that caught my eye, and I'm like, wow. So let me flip this around. Everything. Look at this. I want you guys to look at that difference. And hopefully you guys can see it because I know the comments and everything. I'm going to try to... There we go. Right there. Let me move this back a little bit so that way you guys can see, because I know the comments are in there. All right. There we go. So this is Raw from 2004. Of course, this was during... And the reason why I use these dates like 2022, 2024, like that was pretty much what a lot of people have considered in recent months, like when WB was hot with the bloodline and everything. And this is now. Now, one thing that you notice, and I remember on the Raw Netflix debut, as soon as I seen the mat was black, I'm like, that is a big mistake. That is a big mistake, because if you look at the top, and this is more of a psychological thing that makes a bunch of sense. This is almost like a portal. So you're looking at the stage, you can see the ramp, and then you can see the ring, and everything, it coincides. So you're looking at the stage, the screen, the ramp, and the ring. So it's all connected, and even up top, it's bright. And look at the crowd. Look at how the crowd is lit. It's more brighter. You look at here, and it's more like it's too dark. And the ring in 2026. Look at this, guys. most of the light is for the entrance. And anybody who knows, here, let me flip this around and I'll get back to this. Anybody knows that when you're in a dark room and wherever light comes in, it's natural for a human being to look that way. Like, even if you've been in a dark room, or even like if you've been in a house and you turn off all the lights, the section that you turn on the lights, your eyes and your attention goes there. So going back to this, you can see mostly everybody's attention is going to be at the entrance ramp, because, and look at how the ring, I don't want to kind of, it blends in with everything else. Like, it doesn't stand out, it just blends in. So there isn't no real visual distinction. So when you're watching it, and this probably happened to you guys, when you're watching Raw, a match, you kind of look straight to the crowd, because there's no distinction as far as the ring, because it's black. The only thing that keeps you, in tune with the ring is the advertisements. Outside of that, it's like, they did say the Jumbotron tiny screen was being used less now. Yeah, they reduced it because they're like, okay, we want to reduce it because it was like too big. Like that Jumbotron, like that thing was huge. Like they should have had. I mean, they didn't have the stage like during the Monday Night Raw or the Ruthless Aggression era, but that was too big. But then you get here, and now it's like there's no. Get what I'm saying? Like, you notice there's no moderation. Like, it's either too big or too small. It's either very bright or very dark. There's not a medium with WWE. And ironically, it kind of reflects their creative too. Like, there's no, middle ground and everything. And, look at the screen. Like, granted, there, it has the Raw logo here, and, you got some action going on here. But look at how visually it's more easy on the eye up top here. This is more easier on the eye. This is really, like I said, it's very somber and everything. Looks like more like a music stage. Yeah, to some extent, that is true. It does look like a music stage and everything. And like I said, like here, let me zoom in here. Like, look at the ring. Like, the only thing that stands out here is the ropes. If the ropes were black, all this would just blend in. You'd be like, oh, there's just something going on here. And sorry about the pixelation, but look at all this. There's a ring there. There's an entrance. So it's 1, 2, entrance, ring, as opposed to when you look at Raw, entrance, and then, okay, there's a ring, but you're going to keep looking back at the the entrance because of the lighting and everything. So it's a really, again, I know people are saying, man, why they should know this. It's WWE. Like, I know myself and many other people, like, WWE is not, they're so focused on profit. Like, they're not paying attention to details and everything. If the ropes were red and black, it would give away a cooler approach. Man, you know what? Let me go back to there. Let me zoom this in real quick. Can I go back there? You know what? All right, let me put that there. All right, let me zoom this in. If they change the ring mat to how it is up top here, this color, and they had the ropes red, that would actually stand out more. That would stand out. Like, honestly, it actually would give off like a more of a Nitro type feel, which I know they don't want, but like, it would be more visually, like, it would draw you in more. Like this, like, and I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people have been saying, like, man, Raw with the like, it doesn't help that you have all these commercials, You have, 2.5 hours, only 4 matches. Their average match time is like 7-8 minutes. You can't have visually, you can't have this with how they're doing things. Like, you can't have that because the audience is just gonna get somber, they're gonna get tired, and you gotta also think, like, it's a Monday. So if after a while, and Mondays is usually the busiest day for um, people who work. So it's like when they get home, they don't want to like have to like. I'm not saying that they strain, but you guys get what I'm saying. Like, to like build up all the strength to like watch your programming because it's just like it's so somber and very somewhat sluggish and just very. It's just like I don't know, man. It's just really um, counter intriguing, if that's such a word. Does the black ring mat make the ads logo stand out more? I mean, they do, and that's the whole. I'll get into that later on. Like, and you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, Timothy, because that proves a point in the transition. Because if you really think about this, this is 2024, like the last time they use this. But this set design is when, of course, Vince McMahon and the old regime, before they were bought by TKO. So that's something to also keep in mind. This is before they bought TKO, because once TKO bought them, which was in 2023, 2024, they kept the whole thing. But once they move Raw from USA to Netflix, that's when TKO's like, yeah, we want our stamp of approval. And I'll go into that. I do actually have was an excerpt from I googled that talks about it. So yeah, TKO. This is all TKO. Like, here, let me go back to this. This is TKO. TKO wanted their stamp. So when the new media rights deal happened with WWE, that was pretty much their goal to, hey, we're gonna put our stamp on, the new era, or the new era of the ownership. That Vince isn't in charge or anything. We are, and everything. And yeah, it's kind of, yeah, oof. So yeah, you got this with Monday Night Raw, and yeah, and I haven't even touched on just the presentation show. Here, let me flip this around real quick. So when I came across this, all this stuff, and I was just like, oh my Lord, this is crazy. And I was gonna share this in a few group chats. I'm like, nah, you know what? I need to save this for a live, and I'm gonna talk about it. So going back to my roots, when I started House of Wrestling / City of Wrestling, I reviewed nothing but wrestling, and that's pretty much my background as far as reviewing and giving a critique, or just interpretation of what happened. I was like, you know what? Let me turn on SmackDown and just see, because of course watching it, I was like, oh God, I know this is this, but I'm like, you know what? Let me really see and experience what people are criticizing WWE about. And man, I know some people say they're in trouble. I wouldn't say they're in their lack of attention to detail is going to catch up to them. What's crazy is any other sports or entertainment shows, every new season, the graphics get an upgrade. They get an upgrade, but they don't, if you notice, they get an upgrade, but they don't darken them. That's the thing. They don't darken the graphics or anything. They, elevate it where it's like, okay, it's brighter, it's flashier, it's kind of slick and lean, but it has some color, some saturation to it. So yeah, I watched SmackDown and I'm just like, oh, man, this is, and I'll get into that ring mat and NXT's ring mat, but yeah, I mean, you know what? You could say they're in trouble because, man, I don't want to give it away, but I'm going, and you guys know where I'm going with this, but yeah, the attention to detail, because that, like, the visual, let me flip this around. So the visual of any wrestling show you watch, and this goes back to the 70s, 80s, 90s, that no matter the company, um, let's see, AEW is changing their graphics up for TV. Look at Pac and Austin. Yeah, they put out multiple graphics, and that's the other thing. Like WWE is they're using the standard. Well, that's again when I mentioned WWE, we also got to keep in mind WWE TKO. So I'm gonna have to preface that because we think WWE is separate of TKO, and no, it's all in one. Um, but you know, looking at this again, this is TKO's bread and butter. Like it's attention to detail. You know, when you watch Nitro, ECW, um, hell, TNA when it first went on Fox Sports, when you saw Ring of Honor, MLW, Lucha Underground, they had their own way of presenting wrestling, but the visual always kept you intrigued. Granted, the creative probably was, hey, it's hit or miss, but the visual of the actual arena, the stage, and the ring always had you at least intrigued. You know, depending on the creative, then it's like, okay, I'm going to change and watch something else. But it was always a visual. But yeah, this is TKO's thing. So let's go to NXT and look at the difference. Look at that difference. This is like I don't want to say it, but this is like going from, and this is not a shot at anybody who's goth or anything, but it's like going from, a garden to like a gothic, vibe. And granted, I got friends who, are goths and that's cool and everything, but like for a wrestling program that, mind you, the top when they were on USA Network, this is when they're on CW. And if you know anything about color psychology, and I think I touched on this a few times, so they got orange, yellow, they got a bright orange, they got a dark orange, yellow, and like a orange yellowish that kind of looks like a hint of gold. When you have these colors combined, it gives off a very vibrant, happy, energetic, joyful, like perception. Like, hey, you know what, man? I think I should tune into this. This looks pretty, man. This looks pretty cool. It looks vibrant. And if you guys, and this isn't a WWE thing. This is a TV show history thing. Like, look at any TV show that had these colors. You were more inclined to watch that show because it just had an energy and a vibe that was just very, very uplifting. And just like, ooh, you know what, man? Let me watch this and check it out. But look at the bottom. Like it's black, whites. It's black and silver. This looks like a factory. Like this literally looks like a tech factory that you go to a trade show. Like that's what it looks like. It looks like a well, even trade shows have more color than this, but you guys get my point. But look at the difference in the ring. Like this one, because of the ring apron and everything, like it just you're drawn more in. And this one, it just looks very like it's very bland, somber. To some extent, very forbidding or foreboding, or however they pronounce that, which is very dark. Like this sense of like evil or something like that, or just danger or something like that. Like it doesn't give off like, man, I should watch this show. Like it just gives off the opposite vibes. And again, this is before WWE was bought by TKO, or actually 2023. So the deal was announced at WrestleMania, but it was finalized in September of 2023. So you can pretty much say like this is 2022, but this is before TKO, and then this is once they bought TKO bought them. So this is the big difference. SmackDown. Look at that difference. Look at that difference. That is a difference. Like, you've seen it in Raw, but because of the color scheme, it's like, okay, you can kind of, it's like, all right, but you see it with the stage, like, man, it's just darker and everything. With NXT, you see it. Yeah, they had different ring aprons and everything. Again, thank you guys for tuning in and commenting on this live. Make sure you guys share this video. Again, if you know anybody that's just, man, I'm not happy with WWE and just not, I ain't feel it, share this with them and, let them know, like, hey, you're gonna want to tune into this live because this is breaking down a lot of stuff. Dan, what's up, man? But this photo was actually the first photo that I came across when I was going through all my photos, when I was organizing my graphic program, that sparked like, oh, damn. Because again, when it comes to criticism, and of course, everybody shares their interpretation of professional wrestling and, their review and their critiques. Basically, they kind of use like very, generalizing words like, oh, it's garbage, it's trash, it's this, is that. And a lot of people don't articulate what they really don't like about it and what's really like off about it. And as you can see with this, again, this is pre-TKO and this is TKO. And one thing again, like with the big stage, like that was too big. And again, like I said at the beginning of this, WWE does not know anything about moderation. Like, there's no middle ground. It's either too big or too small. It's either too bright or too dark. This company does not, I don't know what it is. They have no logic or comprehension of moderation. Because, now, to put in context, this design was when they were on Fox TV, which is network television. This design in 2025 is when they're on USA Network for 3 hours. So somewhere along the lines, along the time or something like that, as they were doing the transition, they're like, well, it's 3 hours. Like, you would think that, okay, you're going to upgrade the design and everything, but if you're going to be on for 3 hours, at least have it visually where you want to stay awake. Because I'm sorry, granted, some people go out and everything on Friday nights and stuff like that, but if it's 7 o'clock, and granted, in most places the weather's getting warmer and everything, so people are going to be out more. If I'm watching this, I do not want to sit in front, I do not want to sit and watch a program that's this dark. Oh, man, it's like, again, this is stuff that, and I'm not taking shots at any other lives or people that talk about WWE or anything like that, but this is valid, a critique. Like, this is night and day. This is the Wizard of Oz. You literally have color and dark. And what also, going back to like Raw when they had the black ring mat, like, here, look at the ring mat for SmackDown. It's pretty much like, it's like a bright whitish, like, hint of gray, almost. And then look at this. Blue, like, color psychology wise, this, like, when I first saw SmackDown on USA, I'm like, oh God, this is the worst combination. Because you already have a dark lighting. And I'm going to get into the lighting and the psychological effects of concerts and sporting events that use this dark lighting. Like, there is a psychological effect to it that is not very positive. But blue, by nature, it is a very relaxing, like, it soothes you. Like, that's why, like, water, if you go to any body of waters, lake, ocean, river, what have you, like, it just calms you down. So you're relaxed, you're subdued. But then you have black, like, all this is dark. So you're already subduing the audience. And then you have it, like, you're literally putting them to sleep. That's why people say, man, Oh man, every time I watch SmackDown, I'm like, man, I want to go to sleep. And it makes no sense. Like, at least with this, and mind you, during this time, it was pretty much the bloodline throughout the whole show. But look at it's night and day. Like, you're gonna be more attentive to this. It look visually, it pops. It just keeps you, um, engaged in everything. Um, let me flip this camera around. So yeah, those things, like when I came across that on my editing program, and mind you, I didn't plan on doing this. It's just one of those things because I was in a creative mood, changing um, my thumbnails for City of Rasslin and doing some other stuff. Like I was already in a creative mood, and I'm just like, what the hell's wrong with this company? And again, I know many people are going to say, well, this is a corporation. They should know this. If you've been paying attention to WWE since Triple H took over, the things you think they pay attention to, they don't. They don't. They don't. This attention to detail, no. I'll get into a little bit later, but what their objective and their goal is, this is nowhere in the parameter or anything like that. They're dead set on this. And, this is, like I mentioned at the start of this live, again, for obvious reasons, people ain't watching the show because of Brock Lesnar, Vince, lawsuit, Triple H aligning with the orange guy and everything, that guy. So you got a lot of people that just, I ain't watching it. But then you got the people that are still watching it. They're just like, man, this show's bad. It's their prerogative to watch it. God, man, it is a tough show to watch. And like I said with you guys, when I saw this, these photos and everything, and I was like, you know what? Let me tune in and let me watch it to get an accurate description of what's wrong with this show. And both SmackDown and Raw, and I'm like, okay, let me watch it and really pick apart. One thing I've noticed when I watched it, and I just had in the background, like, it's one, I honestly think there's more commercials now than when they started on Netflix. Like, there's more commercials. And the other thing I noticed, and for those of you who do watch WWE, that still watch it, one thing I noticed that caught my attention, and mind you, I'm watching outside of WWE, I'm watching AEW, Ring of Honor, CMLL with the Spanish commentary, and Veda Scott. Just recently saw Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling, Rev Pro. I saw the Alexa Falcon Mercedes match. New Japan with the English commentary and with the Japanese commentary. I really actually like listening to that. One thing that I noticed that WWE does is that their commentary team is talking so fast that it doesn't match the action that's happening in the ring. That's why if you're watching WWE and you're listening, it's like, man, something's like off. And the commentary team, they're describing the match, they're selling the upcoming event, like they're doing all these things, and they're just, oh yeah, and it doesn't come across authentic. It's like they're performing the kind of going along the lines of what Brian Daniels has said. It's almost like they're cosplaying, or they're a parody of wrestling commentators. And I noticed that right away. I was like, man, I think it was, who the hell was wrestling? Penta? Or something. And I'm looking at the pacing of the match, and I'm like, I'm like, you need to take a damn breath. Like, what the hell are you guys, like, and they're just doot, 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 doot. And I'm like, no wonder people can't get into these matches. And that's a total disconnect. The other thing I noticed about it was there's always music being played throughout the show. Like, there isn't a downtime. It's either music or somebody's talking. Like, there isn't a moderate pace to the show. Whereas like, and what I mean by that, go back and watch even old school WB, Jim Crockett, ECW, early TNA, Ring of Honor, MLW, Mid South Wrestling, Memphis, AWA. Granted, they all presented wrestling their way, but there was a pacing, pretty much a general pacing of all professional wrestling companies when it came to commentary, broadcasting the match. And honestly, what I got out of it is that under TKO, well, with WB being under TKO, TKO wants to reinvent the wheel of pro wrestling, and that is going to backfire big time. Because it's like you're trying to reinvent the wheel. Like, what are you doing? Like, there's a pacing and just like what's going on here? And that was the other thing. Like with the crowd, one thing that for me, and it's not even me being an old school fan, it's just like, why would I watch a baseball game where the crowd is just not doing anything? Wave, like what? A football game. Why am I going to watch a football game where the crowd is just, it's supposed to be, if there's a close football game, the crowd is usually, for the most part, usually into it. A close baseball game that's going, towards the 8th, 9th inning, the crowd is into it. And like, this show is not, like, why are they not? And when you add, I want to say, and this is just me estimating, because I remember on USA Network Raw, they used to have, for 3 hours, they had 15 commercial breaks. They were about 2 to 3 minutes. That's before they went to Netflix. I gotta do the math again and watch it. Yeah, exactly. They're not changing wrestling. Like, why are you trying to reinvent something and change something that, like, and the one thing that came to my mind, guys, is if you look at the NBA, NFL, MLB, hell, even golf, hockey, football, soccer, if you go back as far back as the 70s and even now, granted, the graphics, the intro packages, the equipment, the the studios, they get an upgrade. But the one thing that doesn't get the upgrade, and they don't touch it, is the pacing of the presentation of each sport. It's never changed. If you watch a basketball game, it's never changed. NFL game, I don't care if it's on CBS back in the 90s, NBC, ABC, Fox, it never changes. The graphics, the logo changes, the lower thirds change, but the pacing never changes. NBA, the pacing never changes. College sports and football and basketball, it never changes. WWE, and it's like, keep on wanting to be the biggest and the most, like, we know what we're doing. Like, you're alienating your fans. And that's one thing I noticed, and I'm just like, oh boy. My thing is, why are they even having commercials for Raw if they're on Netflix? Well, depending on when it comes to Netflix, the tier packages, you're gonna get commercials and everything. That's just automatic and everything. So you're going to get goes with what I said above. They react to what's actually going on. WB is selling that. Yes. So, man. And you know what, Dan, I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm not gonna say I never noticed it. It's just one of those things that I didn't pay attention to. And the only way, I do want to give you guys a tip, the only way you guys are gonna notice this stuff is if you take, like, you know what? I'm gonna watch something else. Get away from it and just watch it. Some people will. Some just go over their head. But watching the Penta thing, and mind you, I'm not I don't want to say like, okay, AEW does it better, but like if you watch New Japan and the commentators, they're really here's the thing. They want the audience to understand the importance of the move and the situation that's happening in the match. What I mean by that, when you want to get your point across, whether it's public speaking, if you guys got kids or something like that, you talk very slow and you make sure you speak very clearly so that, and with the inflection and everything, this is all with public speaking and everything, with inflection to really drive home the importance of what's happening in the ring. WWE, overkill. Overkill on the inflection, overkill on the moment. Oh my God, he's doing it. It's like, you're reacting, and this more particular Michael Cole, it's like you're reacting like, oh my God, it is. And I'm literally looking 5 to 7 rows deep behind you, and more people like, really? Let me see. Here's what everyone else. Yeah, bruh. That's how it's always been. That's what I'm saying. Like, WWE, like TKO, they're trying to reinvent the wheel, and it's like, it's gonna backfire big time. And that's why you see so many people. I know you don't watch, and various other people don't watch, but this is why you see it's still like so many commercials, and a lot of them don't understand, like, it's the pacing. They've screwed up the pacing of what's worked for years. Like, think about it. Raw, I think NXT does have like an intro package. They don't even have like the intro to get you revved up, like whether it was TNA, Ring of Honor, Lucha Underground, of course, AEW, WCW, ECW, if you had USWA, Crockett's, AWA, World Class, World Class, doom, 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 doom. They had that intro with the song to get you like, okay, all right, man, let me get vibe. And that, for me, when I watched SmackDown and then this past Monday, that's the main thing that you got. Like, why should anybody get interested into your programming when right off the, like, they present it like it's, they present it like it's like they're too good, like a reunion. When you see these reunion reality shows, like, how the intro is like, yeah, we're here, we're chill, yeah, we're here. That's how they present it. And I'm like, and for me, looking at that roster, I'm just like, they're underutilizing that entire roster. And I'm like, it's gonna come back and bite you. Like, this ain't UFC. You can't pull this crap. Yes, they made it feel like why World of Sports used to make us feel. Yeah. George Michael Sports Machine. Even a lot of stuff on ESPN. Like, it's mind-boggling how. But you know what? It goes in line with the very greed and the arrogance of what we're seeing from a lot of these quote-unquote nepo babies that take over these corporations. No, we want to get rid of the old and put our own stamp on there, but it's like, you don't realize you're going against what's already, and it's not a tradition, but it's just, there's just certain things you don't touch. You update, you tweak a little, but you modernize it. And I'm like, this, man. But here's something to think about. So I showed you guys these graphics and everything, the crowd and everything. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. They're showing signs how WCW was July 1999 going into 2000. What do I mean by that? Now you've seen. Here, let me bring this back. There we go. Let me shift this around. So you see this, this is before TKO, and of course this was a transition when they switched over to CW, and then USA Network, and then of course this is TKO. So you see how it's just darker and everything. So as much as they don't want to say, and people fight how they are not, or how WWE is not like WCW. They always bring up the financial stuff, but they don't realize that, the corporate structure, always played a part. But what was the domino effect of the downfall of WCW was the creative and the presentation. In a way, it symbolizes Vince's idea of nothing comes before the brand. Yep. So when people say, "Oh, they're not like WCW," I want you to take a look at this. As much as people say that WWE is not like WCW, WCW had this logo. This goes back to 88, 89. But this logo, they've had like various color variations. Of course, the blue and yellow. If you watch WCW Saturday Night, they had the blue and yellow ring aprons. Of course, the logo was yellow in the ring and everything. And of course, they went from this to this ugly logo, like this. No, it wasn't 86. It was 88 when Turner bought it. That's when they switched to that logo. That blue and yellow, man, that was a dope look, man. You know what? That's one of. Let me flip this around. I'll go back to this. I've been saying, for a while, I've been saying that AEW Collision needs an upgrade as far as a logo, because it's already going on 3 years, and it's like you might want to tweak it a little bit. And I've been saying they need to give it that damn WCW Saturday Night color with the blue, yellow, and black, or no, the blue, yellow, and black colors, and just give it that nice color with not a logo similar to Dynamite, but like something that gives it that fresh, like that reflects the quality that they're putting on, because it does still feel like the Collision logo. Yes, with the site marker. Yes, like it does give off like it's still like the punk era kind of. It doesn't. Not saying that it is, but it's just the logo still comes from that era. It's like, you know what, you're already past that, but give it that final step. Like, boom, this is where we are. Let me get back to this. This is what WCW did. And not only do they do this, but of course, this also signified how they, it actually symbolized the transition and everything. We're going to get more sophisticated. We're going to get more of this. Same thing what WWE did. And it really did backfire. But look at this. This is Nitro. This is Nitro in 97. This is Nitro in 99. This is Nitro in 2000. Look at how it, granted, Turner really did have good lighting because it was a corporation, but look at how the entrance got darker. And then, of course, this just got like that white cloth that really just, it looked nasty. See, all WWE needs to do is care about wrestling again and disassociate with. Exactly. I think that is a very simplistic solution. That's what it is. I think it was Midsoft that I messaged, and I told him, like, with the whole thing with like Jelly Roll and just all these celebrities, and I came across a post on AEW blog on Facebook, and they had the quote from Kenny Omega, and let me flip this around. And of course, Kenny Omega's like, it's going to get to the point where you're going to have, Logan Paul and Mr. Beast in the main event of WrestleMania. Wrestling fan, I'm like, you guys missed the point. Oh, WWE's been using celebrities, and it's like, no, you're not getting the point. Kenny Omega, that video, he was making the point that, hey, these celebrities are going to wind up taking the spot of wrestlers and leaving wrestlers off the card. Like, they're not going to be an addition like Mike Tyson was at WrestleMania 15, where his addition added to the match. Like, no, these celebrities are going to take the spot of wrestlers in a match. And that's what people don't correlate. And, I mentioned the mid stuff. I'm like, the thing is that, again, a lot of people don't notice about WWE. Everything that they're known for, that was like the spectacle. They've normalized it. They've bastardized it. Like, it's normal. Like, it's nothing like, oh, yeah, they do. And they've normalized it to the point where, and this is a dangerous thing if you've been in business or anything like that, when why did you give me this puzzle? When a business keeps repeatedly doing the same thing over and over again, and granted, you're highly successful, but when you keep doing it, you get to the borderline of it becoming apathetic, and your audience becomes apathetic. And that's a dangerous spot, because when the moment an audience gets apathetic, they go from, man, I really want to see this, to, you know what? I'll see it next time. And when an audience thinks that, oh, I'll see it next time, it's only a matter of time before attendance drops, viewership drops, DVR drops, all that starts dropping. And of course, that ain't never gonna. I'm not arguing with them damn fools. I ain't arguing with them. Go right ahead. And you guys know I've said this a few times on this live, that the way a lot of these WWE fans defend WWE in 2026, I saw a lot of fans act like that in the 90s when the WCW fans, oh, they're going to put WWE out of business. They're going to do this. Yeah, we're number one. And I see the similarities. Granted, mostly all WCW fans weren't like, oh, they're going to put them out of business or anything. It's like, man, I love WCW. But it's too many similarities. I'm like, I lived through this. You guys are playing with fire. Just talk about WWE improving, because the moment you start attacking all these other promotions, they're going to flip around. They already had Speed, KS, Kai. It's only a matter of time before. Exactly. And you know what? I don't fault the celebrity, because, hey, you got money. I see it from a business standpoint. Hey, they're going to pay you this money. You get your brand. That's just business 101. I get it. But from WWE's side, here's the thing. If you're always bringing in celebrities, and, oh man, and like Jelly Roll had a match on SmackDown, like a 5-minute match. So it's like, why should your core audience care about the wrestlers when you're putting the celebrities over more than the wrestlers? And that's the thing. A lot of the sophistication that you've seen in these the show graphics, the match graphics, the way the arenas are lit for Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, it goes into the audience that they want to attract. If WWE ever get to the point where WC was in the last, you know what? I don't see it being as dramatic. But again, never say never. I mean, outside of wrestling, when the heads of a company are very adamant, dismissive, condescending, controlling the narrative, getting in bed with media companies, aka was it front office sports, that WWE had a deal where they would cover them Now, ESPN is that whole thing. It's only a matter of time before when a company's focused on that and not what got them to the dance, and what I mean by the dance, get them successful to the point where, man, they're just printing money. That's a big red flag. Okay, the fan base is an abusive relationship that refused to walk away. Yes. Okay, I'm gonna try to. Man, you guys are commenting. If the WB ever becomes WCW, wasn't the last years of existence, would they be able to rebound? Maybe so, but if the money is not flooding, they may sink further. Took my buddy who doesn't watch the MSG show yesterday, enjoyed it, and liked the production. Hey, that's fine. Yeah, I'm glad. Actually, I'm glad he had a good time. I'm glad he had a good time. Yes. But yeah, this is yeah. There. I know when people talk, oh, you're saying they're gonna go out of business. I'm not saying they're gonna go out of business. The thing is that we also got to keep in mind that they are owned by TKO. They are not the prominent brand. And what I mean by prominent, they're not the okay, I'll use this term. They're not the first child. I use that. They're not the first child, the firstborn. UFC is. And keep in mind, TKO is still in debt. They're still trying to pay it off. And from what I read, as far as like the UFC on Paramount, that's a whole. If it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. So it's. I mean, people are gonna have a good time. I mean, that's just what it. Some people are gonna find a quality about WB because of just the name, the history, and that whole thing. Like, they're gonna have a good time. That's something, it's there. Like that. It's give it. That's like saying, like, granted, I'm not gonna eat McDonald's every day, but people are gonna eat McDonald's. I mean, that's just what it is. They're gonna eat it. So what I'm gonna go into now is more of the. I showed you guys the match graphics with Raw, NXT, SmackDown from when they were before TKO and after TKO. But then I'm just. If you watch WB, and I know Dan doesn't, but for those of you who are watching this, and you watch WB and you experience some type of emotion, like, man, it's dragging. Like, man, I just feel like, man, it's just, like, man, it's flat. Is this? There's a reason behind it. So let me flip this around. I'm gonna go through these things. All right. So here you go. And this is with, like I said, most of the match graphics now in WWE, they're pretty much a dark color palette. Like, it's dominant. Like, it's just dark. And which is really kind of like creepy and weird. Like, for a brand that's very vibrant and very sports entertainment based, like, it's very, like, almost brooding. So look at this. A poster with predominantly dark, particularly black color palette generally invokes feelings of power, sophistication, and luxury. Keyword, luxury. And why do I say that? Is because what is WWE's primary target now? Luxury. People with a lot of money. That's why them tickets cost so much. While simultaneously inducing, this is the key thing, simultaneously inducing psychological distress, anxiety, and a sense of foreboding depending on the context. And the word foreboding means a sense of dread, danger, evil. So it's really weird considering WWE would use that type of, like, this color palette for Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, when these elements, and mind you, it doesn't help that a lot of their creative is just very I'm not going to use the term bad. It's very discombobulating. That's the correct word. WWE's creative is very discombobulating and very disjointed. That would be a fair word to use. Continuing. Such posters often demand high attention because they create dramatic contrast, making other elements pop. That is true. Let me flip the camera around. Like what you see with the Raw, SmackDown, NXT. Let me go back to this. Here you go. So yeah, if you look on the right side, you see it. Yes, this pops. But why is the wrestlers in black and white? Why? Why? Why are the wrestlers darker? You have these, and you've probably heard this on the WWE Unreal series and in interviews. Triple H, Nick Khan, we have larger than life superstars. If you have larger than life superstars, you do not put them in black and white. You don't do that. Especially, where it's predominantly black, because it just gives off a very somber, mood and presentation and everything. So yeah, if you ever felt that watching WWE, like, man, it's just damn, like, what the heck? Like, man, what? And especially SmackDown having that, and that isn't even a baby blue. That is I looked it up. It's almost like a dark. It's almost like a dark powder blue that they use. Because if you look at the blue, it has like a little hint of white in it. So it's like you have this murky blue color that, blue relaxes you. You know what? Duke is more like a solid, bold blue. Actually, no. It's almost like a North Carolina blue. Yeah. North Carolina Tar Heel blue. That's what it's like. It has that. So you got this blue, which, is very soft. Like, when you see blue, it relaxes you. It just keeps you, chill. You're just easy. You're just there. You're just chill. So you got that. So you're already chill. It's like, all right, I'm relaxing. This vibe. And then you add on the dark lighting around. So it's like, after a while, you're chill and just like, if you stare at something for so long that's chill, but it's very dark, what happens after a while? Like, you're going to fall asleep. You are going to fall asleep. So let me continue with this. Here is the detailed breakdown of the psychological effects behind this. So when WWE is using these black, I shouldn't say black, but these dark, mostly backgrounds and everything, this is the emotions and mood, anxiety and fear. Dark colors, especially black, often associated with negative emotions like anger, fear, or a sense of evil, particularly in thrillers or horror genres. So it kind of makes you think, like, who the hell, like, what is their thought process? Like, that's one of the questions I do ask when I see stuff like this and doing graphic design and stuff. I'm like, man, what is their thought process behind using these, this color scheme and just mostly, black for their graphics? Because it's just like, man, what is what are you doing? Sophistication and mystery. Dark posters are perceived as elegant, modern, and serious, making them ideal for high-end branding or moody artistic statements. High-end branding. And we know who WWE's target audience is now, especially with $10,000 to get on the tour bus with Cody Rhodes. Was it $20,000 for a front row ticket at WrestleMania? The freaking nosebleeds is what, almost $1,000 a ticket. We know who they are. So you know what? I think I've said this before. Like, if you look at the color scheme, and WWE is almost like a high-end pro wrestling nightclub. Yeah, it's almost like a high-end pro wrestling nightclub. That's what it looks like. Let's see, melancholy and seriousness. The absence of light can lead to feelings of sadness, loneliness, and depression. So if you watch SmackDown, Raw, and NXT, if you probably like, damn, I'm just like kind of like in a somber mood, like just, let me flip this around. You're just like, man, I don't know why I'm just like, man, why, like, you were happy, like, you come home, you just had, like, yeah, and then you watch like the first hour, you're just like, man, why do I feel like, you're like reflective, like, man, what am I doing? Like, man, I ain't doing nothing. Like, man, I need to be doing something. And I don't mean like, nah, but you get what I'm saying? Like, it's just these, like, it's, I know I'm not the only one that had like something like that happen. Like, man, I'm really like, man, what am I doing? Like, man, I miss, like, just all these weird thoughts, like these weird, like, man, what is that? This is what happens when you present a product the way WB is presenting their product, with the predominantly dark backgrounds and lighting and everything. Let me flip this around. Nancy Leroy, thank you for tuning in. Authority and power. Darker tones are associated with dominance, strength, and authority. So, of course, with WWE, we kind of know that there's been years of like subliminal messaging. And looking at that, if you really think about it, ever since they started using the darker tones, that actually goes back to the Attitude Era, when the ring mats were blue and they switched it to black. They switched the black guardrails to like the I don't know what they're called, you could say dividers, barricades, or what have you, and everything. Like they want to give off the perception of authority and power, that they're the authority and power of pro wrestling. And that's why when people see it, there's a lot of, man, there's so many messages that WWE is throwing, like in their product. You see it, like I just went through with the match graphics, the arena lighting for Raw, SmackDown, NXT. You know what? I need to put up the WrestleMania one. Perfect example. Look at WrestleMania from 2023 and now. Actually, that's the wrong one. There we go. Because they got like 5. Look at that. Look at the match graphics. This is, mind you, if you guys remember, this was the last WrestleMania under the McMahons. And of course, this is under TKO. Look at how, like, they can't even decide which. They got 4 different, like, vibes with it. And all of them are dark. Like, granted, like, people can say, oh, it's not that dark. Yeah, but the thing is that it is a very dark brown. So, like, it's, it doesn't give off this, man, like, this up top. This one here, with the lights and everything, with this background, like, this feels like it's almost something out of, like, Star Wars or something like that, or Lord of the Rings, where you open up this other portal where, like, you're going into, like, you know what? Now I remember. It's almost like the Chronicles of Narnia. When you go into Narnia and you get, after they defeat, the antagonists and everything, you're just like, oh man, this is so cool. Like, it just gives off this, you're entering, this bright world where it's like, okay, we're going to get this matchup. It's going to be bright. It's going to be majestic. It's going to be royalty. Like, this is something that I really want to see. This on the bottom, you know what? This gives off a science fiction movie. Like, this really gives off, like, almost like Time Cop, Tron type. I'm trying to think of other science fiction movie. Um, you know what? This makes me think of the movie with Justin Timberlake where they didn't have money, but like time was their currency or something like that. I can't remember that movie or something like that. But that's what it gives me the vibe. Like it's almost like you really look at it, it gives you like this post-apocalyptic like feel to it. Yeah, out of time. There you go. There you go. Thank you, Naya. But yeah, look at the difference. And this is why I titled this. And for those of you who are watching, like if you gotta go, head out and then come back and everything, and you miss something and everything, I will be downloading and uploading this live on YouTube on the City of Wrestling YouTube channel. But look at the difference. Like this is why I named this the WWE Disconnect. Like there is a disconnect from what they want to what they have been presenting to what they are presenting, and it's really like I said, it's fascinating, but it's something that I came across that really. All right, let me see. Oh, there we go. That really opened my mind and just like, yo, this is deeper. And I know a lot of people aren't going to talk about it because one, it's very detailed and it's not sexy. Oh, WWE's trash and oh, they're not this, and it's not going to get people loud or anything like, but it is going to make people think. Which if I do that, great, and then people spread the word and everything because, I mean, people got to understand like you're dealing with a WWE that, granted, the wrestling is a very emotional. What I mean by that, it's geared towards getting you to react emotionally and talk about it and everything. But you also got to remember that you're dealing with a billion-dollar company that's very shrewd and very psychological. They use a lot of psychology to get people to buy into what they're doing. It's the art of the deal, so to speak. But here, let's continue with this. Cognitive and perceptual effects, and this is another thing that WWE is doing. Confinement and safety. Darker spaces can be perceived as smaller, more intimate, or in some cases confining, which can increase vigilance and unease. So if you're watching SmackDown, Raw, or NXT, and you get a sense of unease, you're not weird, you're not wrong. It just happens if you keep using the damn color scheme that they're using. Cognitive fatigue. Here's another thing. Extended exposure to darker surroundings is linked to higher cognitive load and reduced problem-solving efficiency. Gee, how many times have you guys been on a live and you still see people on a live that display cognitive fatigue? Where their problem-solving efficiency is like little to none. Very aggressive, temperamental. So what happens? There's a psychological part of it. Then depth and intrigue. Dark backgrounds act as a deep, intense space that can draw the viewer into a void, emphasizing the central image rather than the surroundings. I want to ask you guys in the chat a question. Does that almost sound like hypnotism? Like really, let me read that again. Dark backgrounds act as a deep, intense space that can draw the viewer into a void, emphasizing the central image rather than the surroundings. That kind of sounds like hypnotism. Like that is very, man, that's wild. Here you go. Commercial and marketing impact. Luxury and premium quality. There we go with the luxury again. We've seen that a lot. Dark colors are consistently linked to high-end exclusive products. We see that now in WWE, especially with 2 weeks away with WrestleMania. Look at the WrestleMania packages. The average Raw SmackDown show the meet and greets that some you got to pay for. I know with the ones with cricket, that's actually free. You just go there early and go, because I went to one with LA Knight. Well, think about it. It's exclusive high-end products. And if you notice, everything that I'm talking about, it doesn't mention anything about a loyal fan base. All it mentions, pretty much summarizing, is luxury and dominance, strength, and just like the last part, almost like a hypnotism, you know, drawing him into the void and focusing on a central image. That's hypnotism, literally. It's man, it's a wild world, man. It's wild. Let me flip this around. For profit signal, research indicates that darker logos are more frequently perceived as for-profit organizations compared to lighter ones. Gee, what it... Chat, didn't WWE make their show logos darker? This makes a lot of sense to what WWE is doing. And mind you, this isn't WWE bashing, but it's exactly, Dan, exactly. It's like, negative association with charity. Darker logos or posters may reduce willingness to donate as they feel less warm or accessible than lighter, more positive color. So basically, yeah. So what's interesting when you looking at this, and mind you, this goes back to WWE's, the way their show graphics are very dark, predominantly dark. Black is the primary color, or the dominant color. The lighting for Raw, SmackDown, and NXT is very dark. This backs up with what the disconnect is that fans are feeling. It's geared towards high-end, exclusive products, which is high-end people who are in a high-end exclusive, culture and everything. And again, it's almost subliminal where, like I said, the darker logos are more frequently perceived as for-profit organizations compared to lighter ones. So in a way, they're subliminally telling you through the nostalgia and just fans' connection with the brand that, hey, we got to spend money. It's like, not necessarily saying that, but just like people are thinking like, man, I got to get this money to, go watch WWE. And that's what they're doing. To counter a bit, let's remember how Rainbow NXT was received. Well, that's the thing, Dan. That was pre-TKO. So if what I showed you, like the Raw, NXT, and SmackDown with like the orange and yellow, that was all pre-TKO. Everything else that I'm talking about is after TKO, which is everything that I'm talking about is aligning with them raising the prices and just going like all profit centric and everything. So it goes into how they're presenting things. And then of course the darker logos or posters may reduce willingness to donate. What is the opposite of willing to donate? I'm going to be compelled to purchase. Let me repeat that again. The opposite of willingness to donate is I am going to be compelled, or I'm going to compel my audience to purchase. And a lot. I'm not mad that not enough people are on here, but for those of you who are watching, when I upload this video on YouTube, share it. You know who needs to hear it? Share it. Let's continue. All right, here we go. Contextual moderators. Cultural differences. In Western cultures, black is often associated with mourning, while in other regions, that association may differ. Contrast is key. A solid black poster may feel oppressive, but a dark poster with a high contrast, bright accents often results in a stunning visual impact. Cinema, that is seen as slick rather than sad. Oh yeah, that's the thing, Dan. Which is, their hardcore fan base is locked in. I'm not gonna say it's a sad thing. What their hardcore fan base don't even realize now under TKO, reading all this, reading everything I just read in the last 5 minutes, TKO is manipulating their audience. Like, they're subliminally directing them in one direction, and they don't even realize it. Because one, nostalgia, then it doesn't help if you're online obsessively talking about WWE, defending WWE. Mind you, like what you like. If you like WWE, that's your thing, whatever. There's 112 promotions. I ain't mad at you. But if you take it where WWE is your identity and, it's I stand up for WWE, and you're defending WWE like it's feeding the poor, and that that's out there. Yes, man. Unfortunately it is. Unfortunately it is, and that's why, one, I'm doing this because I know this ain't talked about a lot on this platform or any other platform. It's strictly storylines and, and shout out to WrestleNomics. They do a tremendous job reporting the sales and actually, covering the legal aspect of like a lot of things that we don't normally get access to and stuff like that. They do a tremendous job. But, if you're constantly out there like, hey, it's your money. If you're spending $10,000 to meet Cody Rhodes, don't get on social media 3 months later and have a GoFundMe because you can't get this, you can't get that. Like, come on, man. Like, I think how do I say this? The 4-year-old fan in me, and what I mean by 4-year-old, like the little kid in me from the 80s that was watching wrestling, kind of feel sad for him in this sense. Like, even then, like my dad, you watch wrestling and everything, like he sparred me up like, hey man, they kind of like, they want you to get, like, all my cousins, like, they want you to get, buy this and buy that. So I knew that at an early age. But, I guess the little, the kid in me from the 80s is just like, how dumb. How are you acting like this? Hey, what is wrong with you? It ain't real. Like, what is wrong with you? It ain't real. Like, what's going on here? So I'm gonna touch. Hey, Jeffrey, what's up, man? So now I'm gonna touch in the low light settings. So you guys seen the picture of here? Let me go back in. Bring this up. I'll use SmackDown. No, yeah, I'm gonna use SmackDown. So, so if you're just tuning in, Jeffrey, this is the WWE Disconnect that a lot of fans are feeling. Just going over the basic. Since you joined in, I am going to upload this whole live on YouTube. So if whatever you missed, you can rewatch. So again, like I mentioned with the lighting, this is under, again, I want to preface this, 2023. This is before TKO bought it. And this is after TKO got it. Well, they still had this after the purchase. It wasn't until 2024, the new deal with USA, that they switched to this. So it's 2023, 2024. But see, this is TKO. This is under TKO. Look, dark lighting, dark entrance. The mat is very, like I said, it's like a dark powder bluish almost. Which just, again, blue is a very calming, relaxing color, which doesn't help when you're watching a show that's 3 hours on a Friday night. It's supposed to be wrestling. So, there you go. So yeah, I'm going to go into the effects, the psychological effects of the lighting like that. So here, keep this in mind when I'm going to share with you guys. All right, here you go. Low light settings in concerts or sporting events generally enhance intimacy, focus, and emotional depth by reducing distractions and intensifying the central experience. Dimmer environments create a cozy, close focus atmosphere for intimate moments, though excessive dimming, which we see WWE do, if not managed well, can reduce energy and create visual discomfort. Let me repeat that again. And most of you who watch SmackDown, and I've heard people talk about watching SmackDown lately, like, man, it's just like boring as this. Again, excessive dimming, if not managed well, can reduce energy and create visual. The damn show, let me flip this camera around. The damn show's already 3 hours on a Friday night. They already have all these commercials. They only have 4 matches for a 3-hour show. You have this dimmer. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, gee, if we dim the lights down, we have, it's a darker lighting than what we had on Fox. We only do 4 matches. We mostly have talking. The mat isn't white. It's a powder blue that's dark. How could the fans be disinterested after like an hour? How? Really? Dumbasses. Like, really? Like, man. And again, I know those of you who are watching, you're like, man, but they're a corporation. They should know. This company is focused on profits and revenue. And like I said earlier, on this live, that again, I'm going to repeat this again. If you just came in or you're like, man, I started at 7 o'clock. So if you missed that, I will be uploading this entire live on City of Rasslin YouTube. So you can go back and pinpoint, oh, he said this and that. So it's not going to be here and then, oh, it's gone, man. No, I'm going to upload and everything. But, it's mind-boggling that people think, oh, how could they not? They're a corporate. When you have billion-dollar companies that's so focused on profits, revenue, increasing profits, revenue, and actually disenfranchising their core fan base, they miss major details. And what I mean by major details, a lot of times the major details are the little things. The lighting, the color thing. Here, here, I'll go back to this because I brought it up. TKO. This is what they're missing. Look at this is when these designs is when everybody was like, man, WWE's popping, the Bloodline, Cody, Judgment Day. This was the design. Once they moved to CW, then USA, then finally NXT, this is all TKO's branding as far as, yeah, we want to leave our mark, we want to, Vince McMahon took it to a level, we want to take it to a high level. This is their doing. You missed the details. Why? Again, I'll say this again. Why are the wrestlers in black and white? These two. Why? You go from this to this. This to this. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. So let me go back to the oh shit. Nope, not that one. Make sure you guys give this video a thumbs up. Share this video with those of you for those that are very disinterested with WWE. Like, man, I can't put my finger on it. Like, share this with them, bring them on the live. After I finish this, I will be, if you guys are still here, I'll bring you guys up and we can talk more about it and everything. So yeah, you will be on my YouTube channel if you come up. You're gonna be on. Here's the other thing about low light settings in concerts and sporting events. Let me bring this a little bit closer. There you go. Key psychological effects of lower light settings include intimacy and reflection. Soft, warm, low lighting creates a cozy, nostalgic, or intimate, closed, focused feel, ideal for ballads or reflective moments. Increased focus and immersion. By lowering ambient light, attention is directed solely to the stage or field, creating a stronger, more engaging narrative and emotional connection. If you see how SmackDown is now, all the attention is on the entrance. Same thing with Raw. The stage, the Tron is more brighter than the ring, which is bad. Which kind of goes along the lines of what they said, that they're not a wrestling company, they're an entertainment company. So there you go. Reduce anxiety and stress. Dimmer lighting can help foster a more calming, intimate atmosphere that feels less hectic and overwhelming than high intensity bright lighting. Which, like I said earlier, WB doesn't know moderation. They go from really, really bright to very, very dark. There you go. The visual comfort. While high-intensity flashing lights can cause fatigue, a low-light environment or the use of soft ambient lighting allows for visual rest, enhancing overall comfort. Atmospheric control. Dimming is used to manipulate the mood. Dimming is used to manipulate the mood, turning a lively, high-energy event into an intense spectacle or reducing anxiety during slower moments. Again, if you're feeling this during SmackDown, it's by design. It ain't. And what I mean by design, it's not, to some extent it is like, hey, we want you to have this feeling. But again, we're talking about WB. They don't know moderation. All they know is going from one extreme to the next. So if you're going from high bright, like, the lighting for SmackDown on Fox was really bright. Even Raw is like, damn, very bright. So you go from high intensity flashing lights to softer ambient light, but it's too soft. You go from, like it's really, really, really weird. But here's this is the one. Gonna leave that here. However, for high energy concerts or fast paced sports, a total lack of light can be detrimental. The lack of visual stimuli can make the event feel flat. How many guys, when you guys watch SmackDown, those who are tuning in and those who are going to watch, how many times when you've watched SmackDown or Raw, it's like, man, it feels flat. Like, just like, man, it's flat. Like, man, like the energy, like, where's the end? Like, man, again, WWE doesn't know moderation. They know extreme. They're extreme. They go from one extreme to the next. The lack of visual stimuli can make the event feel flat or cause the crowd to feel detached rather than engaged. Ideally, lighting should reflect the emotional arc using high quality lighting that can move between bright and low light scenes. Very interesting. Very interesting that WWE now, this actually reflects a lot of what I've seen as far as the criticism, as far as Raw, SmackDown, even NXT. Just the lighting, that you go from one extreme to the next. You go from Raw that was really bright with the tall Tron, which at the time I was like, man, they need to like lower it down, like find a balance, but they went lower to where it is now. And the term flat and feeling detached, I've heard that a lot from a lot of people who watch WWE, SmackDown, Raw, even the PLEs. Like, it's flat. I've heard that term a lot, flat. And that's when I was doing this and going through my photos and coming across all those images from before they were purchased by TKO and then after, I was like, okay, this makes a lot of sense now. So if you're feeling that when you watch WWE, it's the, what's the word I'm looking for? It is the byproduct of an intended design. Like, they intend the design for you to be emotional. This is this, but because they're doing it, the design is very dark. The lighting is very dark. It's producing a mood that doesn't go along with what they're trying to produce emotionally, if that makes sense. If you watch Raw or SmackDown, the announcers, oh my God, this is this. And you look in the crowd and they're just, there's a disconnect. Where if you watch other promotions, when the announcer's like, yeah, the crowd, it matches, it flows. But with WWE, the announcers, yeah. The wrestler's wrestling and the crowd is just, and you got a few, yeah. It's like there's that disconnect and everything. Low light scenes, and here's something. I'm almost done, guys, and then I'll bring you guys up. WWE is not making any changes anytime soon. So everything that you've seen me go over, they are not changing anytime soon. That's something that I know people like, man, they should do this, they should do that. Like I said, this company is focused on profits and revenue. That is their MO. You don't believe me? Mind you, this is the Hollywood Reporter, ESPN, and everything. And this is their goal. In 2026, WWE's main objective under TKO Group Holdings is to maximize revenue and global expansion through a fully stream-centric experience economy model, making the first full year of its landmark transition to platforms like Netflix and ESPN. That is their motto. Maximize revenue and global expansion through fully stream-centric experience economy model. That is their MO. Then, last but not least, their core business driver. TKO is aiming to significantly increase revenues with projections setting targets between $5.67 billion and $5.775 billion for 2026, a sharp increase from 2025 levels. That is their MO. So a lot of fans that are WWE fans, granted, when Vince owned it, it was legitimate, the displeasure, like, man, creative, this. But ever since it's been a publicly traded company, and now more than ever, they are focused on revenue. So a lot of the things that I went over that you guys see, or you've seen through here that I went over as far as the lighting, the color psychology, the different contrasts, how you guys who watch WB feel watching it, like, man, it's just flat. It's just the pacing, the too many commercials on Raw or SmackDown, just the disconnect. That is why. And I know people hate when I say this. Geishan's here. I commented on the Hills for Life podcast on Sunday, like, WWE is literally the new WCW in so many ways. And of course, they are not that, they were losing money. The reason why WCW was losing money, one, the corporate structure didn't want them, so that was a domino going like this. But when you have your star wrestlers, your top paid wrestlers have creative control, and you don't pay attention to the attention of details with creative, again, the bottom line, the moneymaker in pro wrestling is the creative. If the creative is discombobulated and dysfunctional and disjointed, it's a domino effect. If you already got a domino going like this, if you got all these dominoes and you got a domino already leaning like this, and the creative, and WWE, like right now, and this WrestleMania is what's crazy. We're only 2 weeks away from WrestleMania. And the build has felt like we got like 3 months to WrestleMania. And mind you, I haven't watched it. The only time I've watched it is, this past week, like really examining, pinpointing, okay, what's really like the things that people are like, okay, this is why people aren't attached and everything. But yeah, it's a very disjointed product. It's definitely, and I think a lot of fans need to accept that, this isn't the WWE that was owned by Vince. It's not coming back. Although now with what happened on Monday, the word is, oh, well, they're doing a soft, tease, or not tease, but just see a soft test to see how the fans will react with events returned and everything. Um, the way things are going,